Hey there, Mr. Terry, high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher X video. All right, this video has been recommended to me a few times recently in the last couple days that it's been out. And I think it's good timing because we need to head back and see what Janos is doing over at his channel, living ironically in Europe. And this video is titled, When the Balkans Tried to Build a Nuke. I know nothing about this story, so this is fascinating. I got to see who in the Balkans is even up to this. It's got to be Yugoslavia, definitely the Serbs, right? Our original video is going to be linked down below. Make sure you're supporting him. He's a friend of the channel. By the way, lately, these past few days, been putting out a ton of new content over on my original history channel. A lot of fun stuff. Great collaborations with editors and writers. Really trying to build up that channel. Love to have you around. It's also going to be linked down below. All right, let's get started.
The year is 1949.
Okay.
World War II was a thing of the past.
Yep.
America went back on focusing on skin color, and the world was split into two warring factions who were just itching to get at each other's throats and expand their spheres of influence. Caught between a rock and a hard place was Yugoslavia under the competent yet teetering leadership of Josip Broz Tito. Already dealing with the delicate ethnic balance of Yugoslavia, he didn't want to also deal with the external bullshit from other superpowers.
True. Including the other communist super daddies, right? Soviet Union, Tito was known for, butting heads with Stalin and had to basically try to survive assassination attempts and all that type of pressure and intimidation from the Soviet Union. You know, Yugoslavia, they wanted to do their own thing. Like, we're going to do, our own thing with communism,
So, like any sane red state American, he decided to arm himself to the teeth, expecting that both sides would try and pull some crap and invade the country. But just spending every
nobody cared. Nobody cared enough. I mean, I guess Stalin could have, but
Yugoslav's paycheck on guns wasn't enough. So, Tito decided to get a nuclear bomb.
I mean, it's in your own interest. It's in your country's best interest.
The first thing you need in order to build an atomic bomb is, obviously, a JBL blasting Rocky Vulovic and several crates of Zaječarsko.
Okay, I don't know what those things are, but I'm sure they're funny.
The first thing you need in order to build an atomic bomb is, obviously, a nuclear research center where scientists and engineers can experiment
uranium or plutonium.
Simple. However,
dang, are these just like typical Serbian scientists?
And engineers can experiment and develop it.
I know the funny flame wars between all you guys in the Balkans that all like hate each other and laugh each other, but then you also kind of hate each other. I really don't get all of you guys is like your relationship. Like, I don't know if you're like friends or trying to kill each other, but then I also feel like both are happening at the same time. I don't know. Can I get any clarification?
Simple. However, given that we're talking about Yugoslavia, a country where if you lovingly stroke a Serb without giving a Croatian a goodnight kiss, the entire country would erupt in civil war.
True.
The development was split between...
Y'all are you're so nationalistic, man. And even when you were trying to be a unified country, you guys couldn't get over that, man. It's like you had everything, Yugoslavia. You had it. You had it there. You had the strength. You had the know-how. You had the people. You couldn't get along, man. Why couldn't you do it? You were the chosen ones.
Kiss, the entire country would erupt in civil war. The development was split between three research divisions in Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia. This was another attempt for Tito to boost the shared national identity and not play favorites with his republics. And nothing screams brotherhood and unity like developing a world-ending weapon. But obviously, the institute closest to Belgrade was set as the main one, the Vinca Nuclear Institute.
Makes sense.
Having three different institutions,
but you have the resources.
A recipe for disaster. As you can imagine, the research was similar to a box of cigarettes sold in Bosnia, filled with smoke, residue, and written in three languages for no good reason. The program was plagued by a lack of
just being forced to. It's like Bosnia. Sorry, you're going to be forced to, observe all of the ethnic diversity in Yugoslavia, even though you're just going to be Bosnians wanting this product, right? It's a sign of solidarity, right?
in 3 languages for no good reason. The program was plagued by a lack of communication and coordination between these 3 institutes. Research was often duplicated, resources were spread thin, and rivalries sometimes led to reluctance to share findings, crippling progress. After years of experimenting, I've found perfect hammer.
I feel like Janos needs to just go into the accent, do the hard R rolls and all that stuff. He's trying to sound too non-accenting. Just go in with it, man. Go all in. And if you're gonna be talking about this dude, I want to hear it.
After years of experimenting, I've found perfect hammer. With just one hit, uranium will split and go boom. No way.
He's so good with
hammer?
graphics and
I'm
stuff.
not telling you. What? Why not? Because it's state secret. Comrade, we work for same state. The 3 institutes also meant triple the regular amount of socialist state secrecy
Chernobyl.
and bureaucracy. Because if the Balkans love anything, that's waiting in line to file paperwork, only to be told to get back in line because they forgot one paper.
Okay, I think I would be really interested in just wild Yugoslavian cartoons. Like, even if they're meant for kids, I just have to assume that they're weird as hell. Am I right?
To file paperwork, only to be told to get back in line because they forgot one paper. Of course, you can't do any meaningful
mistrusted
research
each other,
if you
huh?
don't have the necessary equipment and material. Being the smooth talker and pro
Tito.
cigar puffer that he was,
Smoking in
Tito
the
leveraged
White House.
his non-aligned status and managed to secure lucrative deals with both sides of the Cold War in order to cross his nuclear shopping list. The US, for instance, helped by allowing Yugoslav scientists and engineers to conduct research at American universities and sending geologists to survey for potential uranium deposits.
United States is not going to help you like this unless there's some strings attached, and you got to believe they had to promise that stuff's not going to get leaked out to the Soviet Union, right? They're not going to help a communist country without a lot of insurances, even if they pay up nicely.
Uranium and sending poop. Geologists to survey for potential uranium deposits. They even collaborated on the construction of the Krško nuclear power plant with the US firm Westinghouse, being the first communist country to receive such aid from America.
That's why it's so weird. But again, if Tito and the Yugoslavia hadn't tried to be so boldly defiant of the Soviet Union's overreach, I don't think you would have had this, right? Am I wrong?
Being the first communist country to receive such aid from America. Yugoslavia also began a research collaboration with fellow neutral nation Norway, aiding Yugoslavia in plutonium reprocessing, which was a big deal for the Norwegians as the salmon were crossing way too many red lines. Meanwhile, in spite of Stalin trying to kill Tito a little short of 1 billion times, the Soviet Union also sought to keep Yugoslavia in its sphere of influence. The USSR supplied the country with highly enriched uranium for its research reactors, making up for their low-quality deposits. However, the uranium trade was derailed following the Tito-Stalin split, after Stalin tried the 1,000,001 time to have Tito assassinated. Following Stalin's death, Soviet-Yugoslav reconciliations revived nuclear collabs between the 2 socialist nations, culminating.
So things got better after Stalin died, and with Khrushchev. Was Khrushchev just better at just good at thawing out the hostilities that they had between countries? We know that happened with the United States with JFK, and then forward on.
With the Soviet-supplied RA reactor at the Vinca Institute. Okay, so Stalin was a bit and I just wanted to apologize about the whole poison in your coffee tea.
Other countries.
Apologies don't fix broken trust. Actions do. What about a brand new RA reactor?
Okay.
All in all, in spite of the regional bureaucratic nightmare, the Yugoslav nuclear program was well prepared and started on the right foot, with eager global powers from both sides of the Cold War pining for Tito's trust and hoping for better political and economic ties with Yugoslavia. and Norway itching for the day it could obliterate its aquatic enemies.
You keep bringing up Norway.
Such, Yugoslavia was, in theory, a huge favorite to become the first non-aligned nuclear power, ahead of friendly rivals like India or Egypt.
So that makes sense too, that they would have that, because, you know, these countries, even seemingly non-aligned ones, just tried to keep, you know, positive relationships in some way with the actual superpowers like the United States and Soviet Union. They just don't want to, you know, pick sides. India was like that. Egypt, even after their more like socialist years under Nasser, end up being tight with the U.S. But then, yeah, Pakistan, India, U.S. is going to be tight with Pakistan, as India wanted to be more not aligned. Pakistan was like, well, we'll get a little bit of help from the superpowers.
I forgot to mention another critical element necessary for a fruitful nuclear weapons program: money. Loads of money. Tito and the rest of his administration was hell-bent on getting the bomb at all costs. I mean, who knows what would have happened if Gandhi got the nuke first? And the cost was immense.
If it's anything like civilization, we're in trouble.
One of Tito's closest associates even said, "We must have the atomic bomb."
I mean, it's still like that. Oh, wait, let's finish the quote.
"We must build it, even if it costs us 1/2 of our income for years."
Okay, I mean, you have to think there is definitely like an existential threat for your country. And if, I don't know, I guess Yugoslavia wasn't that really. But the U.S. and Soviet Union, it did seem like that because just the aftermath of World War II. But we've kind of seen ever since, man, if you have an atomic bomb, you have leverage, and it's always been like that. It's to your country's best interests. And the people that have unfortunately like given up some of their access to atomic weapons, like Ukraine comes to mind, who gave that up with guarantees of assurances by the West. A lot of them got just thrown out. I mean, they got thrown under the bus and screwed over for it.
Because of this, Yugoslavia would become heavily reliant on IMF loans and foreign economic aid to remain sustainable.
Remember, IMF loans, International Monetary Fund, always come with strings attached, especially when it comes to political alliances. So if you're going to do that with the IMF, you're not going to be able to be getting much from the Soviet Union. You got to pick sides.
Reliant on IMF loans and foreign economic aid to remain sustainable, as more and more funds were allocated to the clandestine Nuke program. Definitely a necessary sacrifice to ensure the country's security, and definitely unrelated to its military inferiority complex. Obviously, when you attempt to secretly develop atomic bombs, hiding all traces of your experiments becomes arguably harder than the experiments themselves. Like the time they amateurishly doxed their researchers' real name to the Norwegians when they requested a list of recipients for their heavy water. But get this, the Norwegians were happy even with fictional names, and it was the Yugoslav bureaucracy that broke the secrecy and sent the actual names of their personnel.
Oh no.
To which the Yugoslavian embassy just said, it doesn't matter who knows about our heavy water purchase. We're a federal state and it will be distributed across the federation.
Exactly. And we're just using the water because we don't want to be drinking so much alcohol. Laughs in Serbian.
Tito relied heavily on the Yugoslav military officials and the secret services to closely monitor the nuclear weapons project and keep it as covert as possible. However, due to his growing paranoia, Tito's hiring policy slowly became based more on political loyalty and ass-kissing than on any scientific competence or experience.
Oh no, that's bad. If you can't just hire the top people that way, you get that kind of paranoia.
Positions were being filled by party loyalists with little to no experience, causing a...
That was a lot of the problems the Soviet Union had too, is just loyalty to the party was just so important that it surpassed probably a lot of qualifications. I think that hurt them in a lot of scenarios. I mean, every government wants loyalty, but how far are you willing to go to make that a priority over skill? How paranoid are you?
Slew of organizational
yes.
and technical problems. Alright, Comrade Tito, here we have our two top candidates for the position of Chief Nuclear Development Director. Stoyan Vasic, doctor in nuclear physics and chemistry, who's written multiple dissertations on Manhattan Project and
the other guy.
Numerous academic awards at Belgrade Faculty of Natural Science. And my son, loyal party member since he was born, Bruce Lee Iljazovic. Glory to Yugoslavia, you're hired.
I think it should be Amogosevich.
Despite the immense secrecy, the program was a testament to negligence and irresponsibility. Nuclear materials, including highly enriched uranium, were stored in dilapidated hangars at the Vinca Institute, secured by nothing more than a simple wire fence, a rusty padlock, and all-reliable Bogdan with his bottle of rakia and his pack of Drina cigarettes. Indeed, it was equipped with state-of-the-art security that America and the USSR could only ever dream of.
Oh my
Nothing
gosh.
could come in the way of Yugoslavia's nuclear ambitions. Except the millions and millions in IMF loans. If only Yugoslavia had diversified its income, maybe they could have survived. Probably not.
Again, a financial
That boat was
problem.
sinking from the beginning. But you cannot make the same mistake by diversifying your investments. And what better way to do so than with stocks and the help of today's sponsor,
Stocks.
Liberty Defense. Liberty Defense
segue.
specializes in producing advanced security technologies for airports, government facilities, and public events. The company has developed one of the most competitive and innovative products of its kind, the flagship HexWave system in
Way to
direct
flag down the
collaboration
man
with
bun guy.
MIT Lincoln Labs and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and TSA. Liberty has also been awarded with a sole source contract, meaning the U.S. government selected Liberty Defense as the only company capable of providing this tech.
There you go, man. You want your business to do well? Get a government contract. The U.S. government will overpay you and they'll stick with you.
Worth millions to supply and upgrade airports with this new screening system. The flagship HexWave is a walk-through portal
will it
that
make it
uses
faster,
millimeter
please?
wave technology, advanced 3D imaging, and artificial intelligence to detect both metal and non-metal hidden objects amongst passengers and event attendees. Unlike traditional metal detectors, which fail against plastic or 3D printed guns,
I've seen that meme before. Where was that going to? Was it like a soccer match or something? This is the world's worst security guy.
Unlike traditional metal detectors, which fail against plastic or 3D printed guns, HexWave can scan individuals
have a
in
bazooka
real time
sticking out of
as
your
they
pants,
pass through, processing
through.
up to 700 people per hour without requiring them to remove jackets, shoes, or pocket items. This contactless, high-throughput design
understand what they're
minimizes
advertising, though,
disruptions
like-
while maximizing
Am I
accuracy,
supposed to buy
reducing
this?
false alarms, and the need for invasive pat-downs. In addition, the
You should have your
company
flare
has
gun.
a second technology called HDAIT. To date, the company has
Is this
received
company
over
looking for
$5 million
investors?
in awards from the TSA to help modernize over 1,000 airport body scanners using Liberty Defense's HDAIT upgrade kits. Each unit costs $125,000, and Liberty is on the cusp of winning awards to upgrade all of these systems.
Do they want
in the very
investors? What do
near
they want?
future. The TSA has also announced that starting from April 2026, all airports will have to screen not just passengers, but also employees for explosives and metallic and non-metallic items. As most airports lack the necessary equipment, new purchases will need to be made, which puts Liberty Defense in a great position to fulfill this demand with the already TSA-approved HexWave systems. I don't usually promote companies of this sort on the channel and have previously rejected sponsorships from others such as mining companies. But Liberty Defense has caught my curiosity, which made me accept their
What do they want
sponsorship.
from us?
So if you'd like to know more about their company, check out their stock ticker on screen. Click the link in the description,
I don't
and
run an
definitely
airport.
do not forget to do your own research and due diligence.
Okay.
In October
There's one investors? I don't know.
1958, 6 young researchers were conducting a routine experiment on a nuclear reactor in the Vinca Institute.
Okay. So they're at least looking for reactors to do nuclear power. I mean, that's one thing. It's a very different process, or at least a much more difficult process to be able to weaponize the fuel that's used for nuclear reactors just for power, like uranium. But 1958, also, atomic weapons have taken another big step, because now you have the H bomb, which is putting, the little atomic, little nukes, they're out of style now, but still useful.
At some point, they had failed to turn off a pump, causing the water moderator to reach a dangerous point of criticality. The researchers had even detected a strong smell
30 years before the other
didn't
Chernobyl,
bother to check
the real
source, thinking Bogdan ripped another fat one. Oh, Bogdan. But 10 full minutes later, after seeing Bogdan was out taking a piss in the outhouse, they realized that they had unknowingly caused an uncontrolled nuclear chain reaction, exposing themselves headfirst to 80 million joules of radiation. The 6 of them were urgently transported to France to be treated immediately. The radiation doses they were exposed to were pretty much near lethal, and for one of them it was too little too late, but the rest of them managed to live on for decades post-exposure thanks to revolutionary bone marrow transplants, something unheard of in Europe at the time. So at least something good came out of this total disaster. The Vinca incident,
it's that dual-edged sword of nuclear power. It's like it could be the thing to save our power issues like forever. The problem is, it's just if it goes bad, it goes really bad and can also like destroy continents. It's like, what do we do? I mean, obviously we want to make it safer, but it's still like the best thing we got going for us.
So at least something good came out of this total disaster. The Vinca incident was ultimately caused by human incompetence and clumsiness. So the embarrassing reports on the disaster were kept secret. Still,
they did what they did at Chernobyl.
The Yugoslav nuclear research continued as usual. Thankfully, with fewer incidents of such magnitude and such idiocy.
Don't let the
in the
French
1960s, progress on the bomb slowed down significantly.
I mean, the big difference, though, is you actually had that giant leak, the explosion that came from Chernobyl, and they couldn't hide it if they wanted to, because literally the radiation was picked up in all over Europe, and they just got exposed. And but at least if you have a lot smaller thing like this, you can keep it under wraps.
Significantly. To no one's surprise, splitting the research into 3 centers located in 3 different republics led to jack shit. Also, remember when I told you about the Soviet-supplied RA reactor? Well, in their eternal wisdom, the Soviets never bothered to teach the Yugoslav scientists how their reactor works. So, when some technical issues were discovered, nobody knew how to fix the reactor. And they
no
tried
training?
Duct tape, WD-40, giving it a big sloppy kiss, nothing. The RA reactor was basically a shiny pile of metal that mostly lay dormant until it was officially shut down in 1984, after 25 years of quote-unquote operation. Welcome to Yugoslavia,
Did it actually put out any power?
Could I interest you in sip of finest rakia? Why, yes, thank you. Is that RA reactor we gifted you? Aren't you supposed to use for nuclear research? No, comrade, it is for making rakia. RA in its name stands for Rakia Reactor. Silly Soviet.
All right, Serbians they're definitely making radioactive alcohol, aren't they?
Silly Soviet. The nuclear weapons program also suffered from cost cutting, as the higher-ups decided that it just wasn't worth the hassle anymore. The Soviets were on friendly terms, business with the West was booming, and Bogdan was asking for a pay raise a bit too often. So there was no urgency.
I've heard that was kind of, like a big problem. Let me know a little bit, you guys know a little bit more about the Yugoslavia history. With this like noble view of socialism that the workers are really controlling the means of production and also can have a say in things like raises, that it was just routine that the workers basically voted for raises, even when it wasn't financially a great decision because it hurt the companies and companies had to close out, or they couldn't reinvest money into, expanding those businesses. But like basically everything went to all any kind of profit at all went to the workers instead of kind of, establishing their future. How much of a problem did that end up being? Let me know. Those are some of the things I heard, but I haven't looked at like the hard like data or research behind it. It's just things I've heard from talking to other people.
For a pay raise a bit too often. So there was no urgency, especially when they had nothing to show for their work. More importantly, Tito's foreign policy strategy shifted away from nuclear arming, deciding that instead of arming himself, he should try to disarm his opponents instead and make them realize the power of friendship. As a leader of the non-aligned movement, Yugoslavia's moral authority in the 60s was built on its championing of disarmament and nuclear non-proliferation. All the while, his team of researchers could secretly try to get their shit together.
It is easy to be supportive of the non-proliferation treaty and discussions when you're just failing repeatedly at nuclear weapons.
Which they did not. So the final nail in the coffin came in the year 1970. Yugoslavia signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, halted their nuclear weapons program, and so the Yugoslav atomic bomb saga came to an end. Until 1974, when India, Yugoslavia's fiercest non-aligned rival and fellow non-proliferator, successfully conducted its first
India ruined everything.
What did I say about Gandhi? As a founder and self-proclaimed
But Indians, are you going to blame Pakistan for it?
Leader of the non-aligned movement, Tito would not let India challenge and undermine Yugoslavia's status. Global wasn't even invented yet, so he recalled all his top researchers and military officers and ordered them to get back to the drawing board and build that damn nuke. I swear to God, I swear to God, I will Gandhi. I will
He's been dead for a while, don't worry.
I will do to you, I will.
He's been dead.
Of course, the development of atomic bombs needed to be kept in total secrecy, since Yugoslavia was still non-proliferating. On paper, that is. Tito really wanted to have his cake and eat it.
Don't worry, neither were others.
Because of the superficial reasoning of the program's revival, none of its glaring flaws were addressed, and barely any progress was made in getting the bomb. Even worse, the handful of young trained scientists and physicians that were trained during the nuclear program's inception left Yugoslavia to pursue better opportunities and better paychecks westwards. Because
they became PhD engineers that were cooking fries at McDonald's, but still getting paid better, I guess.
Yugoslavia to pursue better opportunities and better paychecks westwards. Because if one thing is true about Balkaners, as soon as their visa gets approved, they'll be out trucking in Germany. Auf Wiedersehen! In 1980, disaster struck when...
Y'all better not be typing lavender in my chat after you heard that.
Tito died of gangrene, most likely caused by the mere thought of India acquiring a nuke before him, throwing Yugoslavia into turmoil and permanently exempting himself from being held accountable for what came next. To combat any potential foreign threats in such tumultuous times, the pace of the nuclear pursuit intensified, split into two parallel programs for military and civilian purposes, respectively. But
power versus weapons, right? Like so many nuclear programs around the world. Because again, very different refining process and whatever.
Tumultuous times, the pace of the nuclear pursuit intensified, split into two parallel programs for military and civilian purposes, respectively. But without Tito, both nuclear projects were plagued by rising tensions, political decentralization, and a collapsing economy.
It seems like that's just what happened with everything after Tito. Like everything just accelerated into the dumpster after Tito was gone.
Those followers eventually axed the nuclear project in favor of trying to keep the country together, but to no avail. To be fair, I do wonder how the Yugoslav wars would have looked like if they did complete it in time.
We want independence, no more Yugoslavia, trust is ours. Wait, what's that?
I wasn't going to pause earlier and wonder, gosh, I mean, with how brutal and violent the civil war was in Yugoslavia, if the different republics had nukes, do you think they would have been used? Like, is it just crazy for me to even wonder if that was a possibility? I don't know. You guys that are closer to the situation, is there any way that that could have happened? That'd be frightening. You guys were
But the
brutal
story
to each
doesn't
other.
end here. Following both the end of the Yugoslav nuclear program and the fall of Yugoslavia itself, no one actually bothered to clean up the nuclear residue from the testing sites.
And that's bad.
Nuclear materials from the program
it's hard to deal
remained
with
in
correctly.
despair and became a major security risk. The Vinca Institute had tons of radioactive waste stored in the open and poorly...
That's one of the hardest things that, again, talking about earlier, about kind of the double-edged sword of nuclear power was the problem with like a meltdown or a radiation leak, but the amount of waste that it makes, and if improperly dealt with, it can be catastrophic. We still see the effects of it in a lot of places around the world, even like here in the United States. Out here in the West, for example, with like the high cancer rates that seems to be tied to the decades of nuclear testing and dealing with nuclear waste and storing it and stuff like that. It's bad news.
Maintained hangars, so not up to international standards, to say the least. The horrible state of the nuclear waste in Vinca prompted Russia and the US to work together on a joint mission to secure the hazardous material, the largest in the history of the IAEA. Together with thousands of Serbian policemen, military personnel, and NGOs, they successfully transported 2.5 tons of highly enriched uranium from Vinca all the way to Russia for reprocessing at a measly cost of $55 million. And that was the story of the world's greatest nuclear program.
Some Russian oligarch made a fortune off of that. And then how well has the cleanup and disposal actually been fairly investigated?
A noble and ambitious mission filled with comical errors, half measures, and all that trademark Balkan nonsense. A perfect metaphor for Yugoslavia itself.
Not bad. All right, final thoughts. All right, it's great to go back to my favorite Balkan, Janos, and he's my go-to going into not just current events of Balkan history, but the history as well. So anyway, thanks you guys for making sure to recommend the video. If you are new to especially that channel, living ironically in Europe, make sure you're subbing, checking out the videos, putting out a lot of stuff recently. And a lot of it always kind of catches my eye. And I kind of wonder, you know, if you guys will watch my reactions to it. So if you want to see that, keep suggesting them to me. Okay. Best place to do that's over on the Discord server. That's where I can get my eyes on it, you know, every day. But feel free to put in comments as well. All right. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.